Thank you for staying with us. Time now for us to dig into the papers, and I'm here together with...
Good morning.
Good morning. How was your weekend?
Great. How was yours?
Tiring, exhausting. Had to sneak in as much rest as I could, but then you wake up to a wet morning and all its dynamics in Ghana.
Exactly. The weather has been quite cool since Saturday, and we hope that you're safe wherever you are. These are not rains that cause concern, but you know, a lot of people have reported either not feeling too well or having a flu or cold or something of the sort. So we hope you're doing well even in this weather.
Yeah, well, quite a lot to talk about. I'll just start from something interesting that I heard from the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament in recent times, talking about the youth and getting a job, and that, hey, if you have a certificate, you must do something with that certificate. You must use it to create jobs, not necessarily expect that the system will create jobs for you. But you look at the system, or what is left of it, and you often ask yourself, how easy is it to do that? To be, yes, you know, I interact with youth a lot. Just over the weekend, I was at the Tishi stake of the Church of Latter-day Saints, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, to speak to a large group of youth and elderly people. And one thing you'd realize is that people are very creative, but sometimes the other resources needed to make that creativity bear fruit is the problem. So as I read this story about being creative and making use of certificates, it just made me think. I don't know what your take is on that, what your reflection is, if any.
Well, same thing the finance minister said.
The entrepreneurial, eh?
Yeah, don't wait for the jobs to come for you. Create the jobs. And so, good question you asked. I was also recently at a program to host the United States ambassador to the UN.
Okay.
And we're talking about food security and peace in Africa. And there was this young lady, her name has escaped me, but she spoke about the challenges she's facing as a young entrepreneur in the agribusiness sector and how they are really not targeted by government for aid, for support, for subventions or whatever it is. So there are a lot of young people. And you see, sometimes when you talk about entrepreneurship, I know in some universities it's now a mandatory course.
Right.
You need to study entrepreneurship. It's a great initiative. But I recently saw a post of one young lady who's been doing fashion-related stuff for I think about 5 years or so. And she comes out to say, look, one thing they don't tell you is this is tough. It's a tough terrain. It's a tough taxes.
It's not easy peasy.
It's not a joke.
At least you'll get some reliefs when you start your business, but right after that, you're going to have to start paying taxes. And if you're not raking in any revenue in the first place, that's going to be a tricky affair.
Yeah. So imagine that you're somebody who produces stuff, but your raw materials are not in the country. You need to import them. Look at the way the cedi is behaving to the dollar. You're looking at power, you know, how much you have to pay to, you know, produce something. You need to put the cost on that. The sad thing is that a lot of our raw materials are not produced here. So for many entrepreneurs who are doing stuff that require even making and creating stuff, it's back to zero. Anyway, let's get into the papers. You have the Daily Graphic, don't you?
Yes, I do. Daily Graphic, Daily Guide, Public Press, Ghanaian Publisher. I see you have the Ghanaian
All right,
Times.
yes, I do have the Ghanaian Times, Economy Times, the Finder.
What have they found?
The Daily Statesman and the Custodian. So,
okay, maybe a kickstart matters for us.
Right, let me start. Front page of the Ghanaian Times. Ministry launches Education Leadership Development Program for heads and staff, and that's the Ministry of Education they are referring to there. Illegal mining on River Ofin, heavy clampdown on Galamsey, security personnel destroy equipment including chamfangs and generators. And I saw a video on social media alluding to this, Benjamin, and how we've all gone to sleep on this fight against Galamsey and how those who actually want to perpetrate the crime never sleep. It reminds me of the saying in the Bible that the enemy never sleeps.
The enemy is always on the prowl.
And while men slept, he sowed tares among the wheat. So that's what is happening with our fight against Galamsey. But it's a good thing they've been caught. Also, the Homawa. Interesting. Massive crowds converge on Gamashi to celebrate Homawa ni Ayi Bonteli sprinkling of Pokpoi. And largest wheat farm.
Have you ever had some of that?
No. Not yet. No, not yet.
Okay.
I've only seen them on the streets. When I used to live around Abadi, when I go to the community during Homo, I see them.
Right.
And if you live also in the Teshi area, when the gods are located.
So pretty raw stuff, not so well cooked, and then the oil and all of that.
Yeah. So largest weed farm uncovered in Afram Plains. 5 arrested for cultivating 80-hectare cannabis farm.
Yeah.
What does this remind you of? It reminds me of the conversation about
the ganja men.
Not
the boys be smoking weed.
Not even about smoking it. So we know that Indian hemp is not just used for that kind of purpose, recreational. They're medicinal.
There are medicinal purposes.
There are cosmetic purposes. So people put them in hair products for hair growth. And even the medicinal one, I read a story about a young boy who had seizures and he needed cannabis oil to help him. And he was traveling to a state in the US that didn't approve of the medical use of cannabis, and this boy was in a fix. So hey, I mean, whatever you think about the use of,
but at least they have. You see, the other day I was talking about Kofi Annan of blessed memory and what he had said about weed and monetizing it in terms of the revenue end of it. But I also wholly agree with those who say that our system is maybe simply not ready for that yet in terms of its structuring. So that if you start that now, it will be more of the negative that you see rather than the positive. We all agree that there are positives to this, but in some jurisdictions, they've got to the level where they can do this. And in the US, like you see, even when it comes to Roe versus Wade, it's a state thing now. The federal system has its own opinion, but state by state, they are deciding, will we go by Roe versus Wade or will we go by the upheaval by the Supreme Court? So these matters, I think, eventually, we'll get there.
Right, eventually. So on the back page, princesses crash out after Japan loss. Very sad.
Yeah.
And FIFA Women Under 20 World Cup Spain sweep of host Costa Rica. So that'll just be it for the Ghanaian Times. If you're interested, okay, let's do this one because it's been trending over the weekend. The La Bianca case, and we know all the angles.
La Bianca sounds so romantic.
Mischief. So we know that the special prosecutor found that, look, there were some waivers that were granted that were not supposed to be granted. And we know who owns this, a Council of State member. The customs boss comes out to say, hey, what are you talking about? This is witch hunting.
We did not err.
We did not err. And then the GRA comes to say, well, please, he's a member of our board, but we distance ourselves from his comments.
Leave us out of this.
We will study this thoroughly, but they do welcome the OSP's report and say that they will study it thoroughly.
They've been tactful so far.
Yes, I don't know what you make of this particular story. And one thing the GRA says it will do that excites me is that it will begin to look more into things like this.
Right.
Which
makes
comes
sense,
to
by
tax
the way.
waivers. Yeah, so
because in the end, those 1.074 million Ghana cedis, guess where they'll be going? Into the GRA's kitty, into the state's kitty. But it's interesting how all of this has panned out. The question has been raised about whether Madam Hine should have even been seconded, if you like, or put on the GPHA board, especially when she was a member of the Council of State. And we all knew what business she did. Why did the president have to put her there? It was some see it to be a clear case of conflict of interest that was set up. Others also ask, would others in her position get the sort of concessions, waivers that she has got if they were to apply? But on the other hand, they would tell you that she had applied previously and not even secured it, and it's only this time that she got it. There was the officer who turned her down the first time on, the second event, granting her the tax waivers consent. So, hey, but for me, I always say probe. Let's get to the bottom of it.
Exactly.
And whatever emanates from there, for me, I support the probe by the OSP.
Right. Quickly, so there's supplementary paper in the Ghanaian Times, and everything in it is India.
Oh yeah, on the back of their 75th anniversary.
Yeah, so from food scarcity to sufficiency, India feeds the world. So many stories about what India has done, the Wale Wale Road,
was our Jubilee House not from them? No, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm torn between India and China, but I think it was India. It was India that gave us our Jubilee House.
Yes, it was.
My producers can
Yes,
confirm
it
for me.
was.
Yes, the Indians gave us.
Yes, it was. So what does India turning 75 mean for its friendship with Ghana? Details on page 7. So that's just about it for the Ghanaian Times, Benjamin.
Now that you mention India, I just have to briefly. When we're talking about reparation, our president recently was talking about reparation for Africans and all of that. And on Friday, in my blunt thoughts, I said, not a problem to seek reparation, but what have we done with all that we've got since independence? The Indians were also colonized by the British. Today, they are the world's, by and large, #1 tech hub in terms of health, medical facilities, pharmaceuticals. Look at where they are, even after colonialism and all the resources that were taken out of them. And look at where we are. The Daily Graphic newspaper. I'm determined to steer economy to growth. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. Okay. We're told in the pandemic era that we do not know how to bring human beings back to life. But the economy, we know how to bring back to life. Looks like the economy is playing hardball.
Struggling to resurrect.
No, it's determined not to play ball with our economic team, and that is affecting all of us. Because look,
so it's not dead yet. You don't consider
no,
it dead yet.
it's not dead. Though Professor Steve Hank is far less generous. Hey, the way he takes us on. Recently, he was saying, "Oh, Chia Ghana, you've moved from asking for 1.5 billion to 3 billion." That's what he's saying.
When I read his tweets, at the back of my mind, I'm saying, "Okay, but what's your interest?" I mean, it's
sure.
It's a harmless,
I know. You see, both of us are stuttering.
It's a very harmless question that pops in my mind. I'm saying, okay, so all of this, because he's been on and on and on and on.
I've thought about saying, but guess what? He does same to all the countries on his watch list.
Oh, okay.
So in Latin America, basically more troubled economies.
Okay.
So he focuses on them. But of course, when he tweets, sometimes it is direct at. So you would see him come out with his debt risk and depreciation charts when it comes to different countries. But then he narrows down on each one of those he has done. So that is where we get into these. And he's created a legacy for himself on the back of that. I mean, he started this decades ago, so I guess it's just to maintain where he finds himself. But the president says they'll bring us back to economic growth. Do you remember when we were told that in about 2.5 years, the economy will be stable again and an IMF program and everything? Let's hope and pray.
Once you're doing the economy, let me just bring this in and put it aside. The Economy Times, fiscal deficit to end year at 8.1% of GDP. Inflation to peak in third quarter, end year at 22%. That's according to Fish in its latest
22%.
rating. Yep. And banks unlock credit to private sector. Deteriorating public finance, Fitch downgrades Ghana's IDR to CCC. And BOG Deputy Governor chairs Advisory Board of UG Colleges of Humanities, and banks' profitability growth shrinks. And we'll be delving more into this later in the show. The ratings, the economy, how we're doing, whether we're on the right course, and what you should expect.
But I find it interesting that Fitch is suggesting it will peak in Q3 because interacting with economists and all of that, you can't really tell. The hope is that it will peak within this quarter. But whether it will is another matter. In fact, the government statistician, the last time he was delivering this, mentioned that we cannot think that because it has crossed 31%, 31.7 to be specific, it has plateaued, it has peaked. No one can tell. It depends on the market dynamics.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit surprised. And I think the projection, even by government at end of the year, is 28%. So for Fitch to reduce that by 6 percentage points, I find it interesting. But again, at end of year, we'll see how things turn out. Agri contributes $476 million to non-traditional exports. There's also permanent security team to fight galamsey on rivers. You were talking about that, Bernice. That's on page 13 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Now, the big one. After 11 years of losses, Bust makes turnaround. Posts 163.8 million Ghana cedis in profit, settles 80% of debts. And pictured there, Eko Hackman, board chairman, Bust. Are you excited by that? You don't seem too excited. You were wearing this poker face. I felt when I looked at you, you would have been, oh yeah. Because Boston, Tor, and others, Charlie, he's just been bleeding.
I said Tor there.
Tor there, I told baby, oh, Charlie. Anyway, and then on the back page, Oli signed Ajiman Bedu. Remember him?
Of
Black
course.
Stars and Oli Dade,
I love
Oli
sports.
Oli Rosalinda, Oli Konson. Some of them I can't mention.
Only AM show.
Only AM show. You know, it's Dr. Daniel Macaulay's favorite team.
Oli is, I know, a lot of people. My pastor said
Back in the
it's his favorite
day,
team.
I mean, Hearts came and took away some of the shine, but there were a lot of people who, even today, are
Across
supporters
great
of
Olympics.
Hearts of Oak who actually came from the
the
Oli,
migrated, yeah.
family. Anyway, that's it for the Daily Graphic newspaper.
Okie dokie. The Finder front page, Homowo is a beautiful festival. Dr. Baumia says so. Ghana Armed Forces is being equipped adequately to deal decisively with emerging threats. And this has to do with the threats of a possible terror attack in the country. ADB reports 81.6 million profit in 2021 and will remain agri-focused. That's according to its board chairman. And Galamsey fight permanent patrol on river bodies plant, and that's according to Mr. Martin Eyisi, who is CEO of the Minerals Commission. The same story is captured on the front page of the Daily Statesman. Investigation into mining in Ofin River begins, and Education Ministry bemoans poor supervision of teachers. Youth development high on our agenda. That's according to President Akufo-Addo, and that one on government adequately equipping the Ghana Armed Forces to safeguard the nation is also captured here on the front page of the Daily Statesman.
Let's get into the Daily Guide newspaper now. And top stories there. Customs boil over firings. The story is on page 6, and we all know about Colonel Kwejo Damwa. Now, I have, some good memories of him. I'll always remember him for his small boy comments. He's a small boy. God is always on my side. And the story says the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority is edgy after media reports suggesting a possible shake-up at the top echelon of the authority. The alleged reports coming on the wheels of an investigative report from the OSP in relation to customs valuation have sparked an angry outburst by the management of the Customs Division and leadership of the Customs Staff Association. Just to wrap, the CSA, in a statement released yesterday and jointly signed by the National Chairman Ebenezer Bob Eshen and National Secretary Kofi Sama, said nerves remained raw in the Customs Division, which is in turmoil over a wave of reports to replace Reverend Dr. Amishadai Osuamwa and Colonel Retired Kwejo Damwa, Commissioner General and Commissioner of Customs, respectively. And so this is a typical Wakofa Bekame. You remember that song? Anyway, Hopes in Adoye stokes fire in NPP. And the director of operations of the Aladdin Trematin campaign team, Hopes in Adoye, has stoked fire in the New Patriotic Party after suggesting that in the tradition of the party, people of northern extraction, as represented by the late S.D. Dombo, play second fiddle.
So I saw the story.
Hold on. The ethnocentric remark has prompted an assortment of reactions from both northern members of the party and their southern counterparts who disagreed with him. Coming under intense heat with harsh reactions, he has taken cover by saying that was not what he meant.
So what did he mean?
That's the question. And over the weekend, there was all fire, salvos being fired here and
That's such
there.
a reckless, even if you were saying it, on what basis would you say that?
Is it true or not? What do you think?
I'm not a member of the NPP. I don't know what they think, but I think this is very divisive. Is that what the party thinks?
But the party will always have some level of division. I mean, our political parties. Because right now, look, off the top of your head, you can figure, without looking through any crystal ball, that one of the contenders, major contenders, at least a set of them, would be the Vice President, Dr. Baumia, and Alan Tremanting, who is a perennial contestant, who would likely, most definitely, I almost can say, will be contesting. So Yeah, he's from one of the camps,
Okay.
and he feels
So let me
this is the reality.
let me say this. You know what Mr. Osafo said and later apologized for?
Right.
We are hearing Hopeson. There have been a couple other statements by some big members of the NPP. This is not healthy. This is extremely divisive, and you don't want to do that. Why would you? What has someone's ethnicity got to do with what they can offer? What has someone's gender got to do with what they can offer?
But while I agree with you that it's not healthy, is it the reality? That's my question.
That's what I'm saying. The party should tell us. What does the party make of his statements? Is that the general view? Is that the party's plan? Does it fit in its ideology? If it does, the party should let us know.
So as a student of politics, you can look at this from different angles. You look at SD Doboy himself. What was his legacy in the party? You can look at those of northern extraction in the party. Let's look at the Fourth Republic, for example. We've seen the former vice president under Kufuor, vice president. He contested, actually. I think he placed fourth, okay, in trying to become president. We saw the issue with Malam Issa, who actually was someone who came from another party into I think the PNC, into the NPP. But we've also seen a number of people of northern extraction who have had key roles, and now we have one in pole position, the vice president. So you can look at it from two different angles and say maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
What's the relevance? That's my question. What's the relevance at this stage in this country?
What I find interesting is the fact that he is supposedly from the Allen camp, and he's stoking this fire, because what on the other hand, from my thinking, this brings to bear is, okay, so the current vice president is of northern extraction. So you're basically saying, let's hand over to him. Do you get it?
I get
so
what,
I don't know what exactly this was meant to achieve.
This, you see, if you were his PR person, this spin won't work. The spin you're trying to put on his statement.
No. But
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
You can deduce that from what he's doing. And that is a shot in the foot of the person he seems to be backing.
Look, as for this issue, I mean, the least said about it, but I will quickly wrap up. The front page, the custodian has a story of the Ghana Armed Forces funding of terrorists, Minerals Commission probing mining in Ofe River. The one that interests me, we have no car towing deal with Zoom Lion. GP RTU replies Bright Simmons, and police to reduce robbery response time to 10 minutes. That's according to the IGP.
Has been saying that.
That should excite you, because we know that there are people who say, I called the police and they said, oh, we don't have fuel.
Yeah.
Well, can you come get us? I'm being attacked, hello?
There are armed robbers, gun-toting robbers, and you're telling me to come pick you up.
Yeah, so, I mean, there are genuine issues. I'm just
maybe nowadays, you'd send them Momo. Yeah. But at that time, if it's done, where are they going to get fuel before they come see you?
So the IGP is very, very optimistic. He says, we believe this is possible and it will be done. When was the last time you heard of robberies on the major highways in the country? The police have men patrolling all those places. We are going to deploy about 2,000 motorbikes and officers to be patrolling all highways in the country, the IGP reiterated. And on Wednesday, I was on my way towards the Ring Road area, and I saw these police recruits on motorbikes. They were actually being trained by a senior officer. And you could tell, I mean, when you see them in their black and their tracksuit, you know that they're being trained. And they were on motorbikes, and when the traffic light turned green, they all drove, as a team. And one person was left behind, he couldn't start his motorbike.
That would be funny.
It was interesting. So they were saying, hey, we know. Then another one was saying, the back was saying, yeah, but no soil. Like when we were coming from the depot, he had turned on his bike, but I don't know why he's still not here.
But so a quick addition to the police story. I saw Professor Kwekwaza and Kofi Bentel slugging it out seriously on social media, because Kwekwaza felt, wait, why should it be that if under very unfortunate circumstances, a police officer loses his life, there's the option for a family member who supposedly is qualified to replace the person. It was a very interesting conversation because some were talking about nepotism versus meritocracy. But others were also making the point that no, qualification still will come in, but this person will be given a better chance because of that deceased person's family as a way of compensating the family. I don't know what you make of it, but for me, I think both sides are making sense.
I saw the story and I thought to myself, oh, this is interesting. I've never heard of it being practiced elsewhere. I may have to do more research, but at least a little knowledge I have of what happens in other places is just the respect accorded the family. Say a military person dies and they give you all the regalia and other things, and they honor you, they give you the nation's flag.
And whatever compensation
they give it to you. But about a family member being given a better chance of becoming a member of the force, I mean, I don't know about that, but it's interesting.
Well, let's wrap the conversation. I'll just do two quick stories, not reading them. We're in dangerous times. Kwabena Japan, former General Secretary of the NPP, he's been talking vehemently about Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, and he says we're in dangerous times. We'll be tying that later on the show into what Brigadier General Nudu Mensah says. Ghana's current economic mess can lead to chaos. What is the situation? And finally, since we're going into sports, I wanted to sub-entire team declares Man United boss after Brentford loss. Eric Ten Hag. Well, Ten Hag, it's in 2 matches, he's almost conceded 10. That is after the Brentford match and being thumped by 4 goals.
Sorry to all Manchester United fans.
I am a fan.
Oh, are you?
I am harping on that because this is colossal madness right now. It's all.
Someone says he's left the team. He's going to Real Madrid.
No. Oh,
we'll
yeah.
Come back in 2023.
Yeah, I can't mention his name.
Oh, why can't you mention his name?
I don't think it's fair. But I never shift. I never shift. It is Man U for life. That's
Please, he's just trying to tell you he's very loyal. Please, Mr. Loyal, very loyal.
I'll tell you what. Our sports team is very loyal. They are up next with Sports Tuesday. Mischief.